You guys headbanging intensifies, cause get ready. I'm finally gonna cover an album from a different genre. I know I've been saying I'm gonna do that. I did cover that Gravedigger album a couple weeks ago, but that was EDM kind of influenced by rap trap genre. So this is gonna be our first actually different genre album. So that's why we started off a little metal music. This is my metal playlist. If you want to check it out, the link to my Spotify is in the description. And I started off with Almost Easy, my favorite Avenged Sevenfold song, who also happens to be my favorite metal band. So get ready for that. But we have a lot of music to cover in this week's episode's Bigro's Tracks of the Week. So let's get into it, starting with the singles. First off, we have Evanescence. If you're not familiar with Evanescence, they kind of broke through with their 2003 album Fallen, and kind of since then have broken nowhere. And this is actually, I read in their bio, the first song they released in like 10 years. So I guess the quarantine has got Evanescence bored and they want to release some new music. And this song's kind of mid. It's kind of pop rocky. I'm a bigger fan of their biggest hit singles from Fallen were, which I'm sure you guys have heard, Bring Me to Life, Bring Me One More Time, Save Me, No One From This Nightmare I've Become. I'm no Amy Lee, the lead vocalist, who honestly is a great singer. I think she's been doing a lot of solo work in the long time span that Evanescence has been on hiatus. But she kills it on this, like usual, so hopefully in the next couple of singles they'll experiment more with their metal that they did on their first album and obviously their most popular record. Fun fact, actually, in 2003 they won the Grammy Award for Best New Artist, and guess who they beat? Mr. In the Club himself, 50 Cent. I think you guys know which group stayed more popular. Next up, we have Young Dolph's Sunshine, which is probably the best coronavirus-themed track and probably will remain the best coronavirus-themed track of the whole pandemic. Dolph kills it with a really good flow, shouts out the medical workers, puts out some, a lot of, honest feelings about this time, and the artwork, obviously, very political with the bloody flag, Donnie looking like a buffoon. So another thing that Young Dolph has done in light of this pandemic is he's gone back and photoshopped masks onto every single album cover he's ever released. This one's a dual collab record, so I don't think he did that one, but he even put a lot of work into it, like the Thinking Out Loud cover, like Pastelli. This face mask is a pastel. I don't even know who my boys got on bankroll doing all this Photoshop for him, but shout out them, or maybe Dolph's on the desktop doing it himself. But I really appreciate the kind of Corona aesthetic that now accompanies his albums. Next up, we have what might be one of the most brutally difficult songs I've heard in a long time to listen to, because Juice WRLD's newest single, Since His Passing, is apparently a song he recorded in case he died prematurely. So obviously it's going to hit all the feels and emotions, and it really does that. And it just, there's not much more to say other than this is a tough song to listen to, but it's really good nonetheless. I mean, shout out Juice for predicting that he might possibly die, so he recorded a song for it. But then again, he also recorded 1,000+ songs that haven't been released, so he's probably got a song for every occasion that could have happened. Alright, and next up we have a new single from T-Pain featuring Chris Brown of Scumbag notoriety, but can't deny the man is talented, and he also is a good feature artist, so he gave T-Pain what could be his first hit in a while. I think it's pretty good. Kind of falls into the melodic hip-hop territory that Chris Brown and Jeremiah and all those other guys have been kind of occupying at this time, but T-Pain's trying to re-enter the scene with this one. A little bit more poppy than his One Up album from last year, which I actually liked. I enjoyed One Up, but this might be his more mainstream attempt to come back. Next up, we have a new song from the New York trap metal scene, Kamayada, in his new song, Mistake. If you guys remember, a couple weeks ago, I did a little deep dive into the trap metal scene in New York, who is occupied mostly by City Morgue, the most popular group. There's a lot of smaller people, and Mayada is one of them, and this is a good new song from him, so check it out if you missed that episode and want a little taste of what I was talking about. Next up, we have a song from Ramirez, Grave 59 Signee, associate of Los Suicidal Boys, Tales from the Gutta. I think my favorite thing about Ramirez, besides his pretty much flawless flow, is his great album artwork. Like, I want to know who does all this album artwork for Ramirez. It's got that crazy 80s aesthetic, really grimy feel. Whoever it is, I want that man to make an album cover for me if I ever release something, because damn, these things look clean. Next up, we have a song from Tara Reid, who I had not actually heard of before this song, which features Puya. That's how I came across it. Honestly, Tara Reid comes with a really nice kind of nostalgic 90s flow. Fits well over the beat. Puya obviously comes with his pretty much nostalgic 90s flow that he uses from time to time. They work well together, so I'm kind of interested to see more from Tara Reid. I haven't gone back and looked at any of these things. These are all singles. He's only released singles so far, so hopefully a project is on the way. Next up, we have a song I actually forgot to cover last week. It's Kid Cudi's new single, and I think 3 years if we're not counting Kids See Ghosts. I guess 4 years. That's been that long since Passion, Pain, and Demon Slaying, but he's coming back hot. Coming back with the bars. He's spitting a lot more on this. A lot more than he was on Kids See Ghosts, where he was more the melody humming in the background while Kanye kind of did some of the rapping most of the time. But here he proves he can still spit, and that's not the only song we have from Kid Cudi, because he has now released a collab song with Travis Scott, which was actually released during the Fortnite concert. If you haven't seen that, one of my previous videos, I believe 2 vids ago, I did the whole experience and recorded it and put it on the tube, so check that out if you didn't see it. But at the very end, he premiered this song, and I guess it's a tease for a full-length project, because Travis put up some merch on his website where you can buy like the complete vinyl of this, so I'm excited for this. If the whole project is this level of quality, then it's going to be maybe even rivaling Kids See Ghosts, which was one of the greatest projects of 2018. Next up, we have a new song from Guapdad 4000. It's actually a whole project, but I mean, all these songs he's released one by one in the past weeks. If you remember, I've covered pretty much every single one, but the new song that came out with this one is Trade Places with Them Jeans, and it's a good song to cap out this whole project. And I think if Guapdad 4000's got anything going for him, it's these weird and wacky song titles he comes up with, so gotta give him creativity in that department. Also got a nice flow, so ain't nothing wrong with that. Next up, we have a new project from Lil Wop. Lil Wop, if you have not heard before, I would very much recommend not starting with this project. Lil Wop is a very interesting artist. His voice can be hard to get used to, but the one song I did want to highlight on this project was this song, which I believe he probably dedicated to my dear friend Bouldrew. Ain't that right? But if you do want to start off with Lil Wop, I'd recommend starting off with his collab EP with Trippie Redd, where you can kind of get a taste of his style, because he only does half the songs. Trippie Redd covers most of it. But you can kind of see if you like his really gritty voice. He raps like this, kind of. And it's kind of a good introduction to him. And then afterwards, I'd recommend his Wapavelli series. If you want to see some of the songs I like, because they are kind of cherry-picked with some bangers and some really unlistenable songs, you can just check out my playlist, search up Lil Wop, and the songs I like the most will pop up for you. Next up, we have another album from Bones, who just stays putting in the work. This one is all produced by Drew the Architect, and it's got a big 80s aesthetic vibe going on here, where some of the songs are straight like neo-funk wave, which is, I believe, something Bones dabbles in a lot on a side project from his actual Bones character called Ricky A Go-Go. But Ricky A Go-Go becomes Bones a little bit here, but he also has songs like Spawn Camping and PvP, which are the bangers we know Bones and love him for. But then songs like Render Distance and Cross Dissolve are like the 80s aesthetic vibe, so we got a little bit of everything on this project. Bones just puts in so much work, and you know, if you're a Bones fan, you'll always stay eating. Next up, we have K Camp with Kiss 5. Here's an artist I never thought I would be covering a project of in 2020 nonetheless. K Camp had his career miraculously saved by some insane luck with Lottery becoming a huge success on TikTok. He even changed the name. This was not what it would look like before on his previous project. Now he has in parentheses Renegade, because you know that Renegade song is actually from Mr. K Camp, who, if you don't know him, his most famous work before this was a 2 Chainz song called Cut Her Off, which I also think is a good song. Now he's moving in a more R&B melodic direction, which is fine. I don't really listen to a lot of melodic R&B albums, so this gave me a good selection of songs to add to the playlist that I don't usually get. These 3 are my favorite. Honestly, it starts to get a little repetitive around this mark, where this Black Men Don't Cheat song, I don't know what this is. This was a wild song. I was not feeling it, but then he just adds Lottery at the end, which completely ruins the whole vibe of the whole album. But this man wants the streams. This is the most unlikely comeback of 2020. I guess I gotta respect him for that. Next up, we have the sequel album to Hood Baby 2, released by Lil Got It, whose last 2 singles I both covered, Bricks in the Attic and Never Legit. Both I really enjoyed. And obviously his earlier project this year I also enjoyed. And this is definitely a continuation of the great quality output as the last project, where basically every song on this I enjoyed. Lil Got It might be my sleeper hit of the whole year. I did not expect him to put out as much good music as he has, especially compared to like Lil Keed, who I guess is his contemporary like Young Thug clone comparison. And I guess Gunna too, even though Gunna blew up a lot earlier than both these 2 guys. But in my opinion, at this point, after these last 2 albums, I think Got It might have a higher trajectory than Gunna has. I mean, Gunna has bigger hits, but I think Lil Got It, at least in my opinion, is a little bit more consistent. And he can carry a solo song, unlike Gunna, who's kind of a better feature artist than a solo artist. But next up, we have another sequel Baby album. This one is 38 Baby 2 by Youngboy Never Broke Again. And like Bones, Youngboy Never Broke Again has a ridiculous steady stream of content he puts out. Some of them are going to be hits and some of them are going to be misses. And this one was kind of a miss. I wasn't really feeling it. I felt a couple songs, but overall this was really samey. Nothing really stood out. The Baby song's pretty good. The Baby drops a fun feature, but overall, kind of a forgettable project that won't be really remembered in the discography of Youngboy. Next up, we have Fivio Foreign's 800 BC. This man is trying to come up in the space left by Pop Smoke's tragic death, as he's also in that New York drill scene that Pop Smoke occupied. Fortunately, he's not as talented in my opinion, but he's still got some good songs. Big Drip is his big hit, and he got Quavo and Lil Baby on the remix. The Meek Mill song's good, the Lil TJ song's good, the intro is a vibe. These 2 are the more, I guess, drill-oriented songs on the project, and Weddy too, even though I don't really like that song. But, I mean, if he continues to adapt and expand his sound, I could see him possibly being as big as Pop Smoke could have been, but I don't know. I feel like Pop Smoke had more of the it factor than Fivio has, but we'll wait and see. Next up, we have a collab project from Young T.O. and the boy of the bigger group SOBxRBE, who I'm not really sure is what's going on with them. I heard like they broke up and then got back together and broke up again. I don't know. But here we have 2 of the most talented members of the group dropping a collab project that really fills that kind of 90s aesthetic West Coast sound, kind of mixed with the more modern trap sound that SOBxRBE is kind of most known for. And honestly, this might be my favorite project from that group. This is probably the one I've saved the most songs from and enjoyed most of. So shout out Young T.O. and the boy. They don't need the rest of the crew to make some bangers. I think my favorite song probably going to be Forever Ballin'. If you guys want to check that out, you'll probably like the rest of the project. They actually have some really good storytelling on The Robbery Part 1 and The Robbery Part 2. Surprised by the lyricism. So shout out these boys. Keep killing it. And honestly, the worst tracks on the album were the back 2, which was the solo songs by each of them. They gotta work together. They don't split up. I wasn't really feeling it when they split up. And then last but not least, we have the metal album I said I was going to cover. When I hopped onto iTunes to see the music that had been released that week, I saw that this Trivium album was high up on the Apple Music charts. I'm like, well, whenever I see a metal album on the charts, I know they have some sort of dedicated fan base that must really love what they just put out. And I guess I was right, because I went through the reviews, and I saw some interesting ones, such as this: "No filler, just killer. Don't die without experience this. You'd be missing out." Seems a little extreme. And then we have this one where we say that Alex is making challenging beats that could make a grown man cry. I was not crying while listening to this album, but it was pretty good. It's what I expected, kind of pop metal, which I know metal's one of those genres where people get really weird about like the different genres, subgenres within the genre, and like what bands are good. I know a lot of foreign bands are kind of the ones people have been going with the most these days. But for like a stereotypical pop metal album, this is pretty good. What the Dead Man Say might be a little too cookie cutter, but afterwards we got 4 songs in a row that all hit really hard. Good vocals, a good mix of the growls and just normal clean vocals. I don't really like bands like Cannibal Corpse that only do the growl, and I prefer it when they actually have a decent singing voice, kind of like M Shadows of Avenged Sevenfold. But overall, it's a good project from Trivium. I believe it is their 9th project, as they so helpfully let me know with that one. And give this a shot. I think the only songs I had heard from them before were like their 2 biggest hits, but I studied a bunch of songs from this one, so maybe I should go back and do a deeper dive in their discography. But overall, very nice. I hope you guys have enjoyed this week's of Bigro's tracks. Check out Mosh Pit Grinder if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.
For my life, can't say that, girl. Don't tell me you could say that shit. All she want is payback for the